I remember the exact moment my life split in two. It was a Tuesday afternoon in August. I had just come off a 12-hour shift at the construction site, pouring concrete in 95-degree heat, the kind of work that makes you forget what it feels like to be dry. My hard hat was crusted with salt from sweat I'd been wiping away for 8 years, 0.8 years of my life, chunk by chunk, dollar by dollar. I went to the bank to deposit my weekly check. That's all I wanted to do. Walk in, slide the envelope across the counter, walk out. Maybe grab a beer on the way home. Instead, I walked out with nothing. The teller looked at my account balance, and her face went strange. Not the usual customer service smile. Something else. Something that made my stomach drop before she even opened her mouth. "Mr. Harrison, your balance is $412. I laughed. "No, I think there's a mistake. I should have about $150,000 in there. I've been saving for." She turned the screen toward me and I stared at it. The numbers didn't change. I made her refresh 3 times and I pulled out my phone and checked the app myself, fingers shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. $150,000. Gone. Not in a savings account. Not transferred to some investment. Just gone. Withdrawn. Wired out 2 days ago. I called my father, Carl Harrison. My hands were still shaking. It rang 6 times before he picked up. "What is it, Marcus?" "I'm having dinner with your uncle." The sound of plates in the background. Voices. Laughter. My family sitting around a table like everything was normal. "Dad, my money. The money in my account. It's gone." A pause. Then his voice, calm as if he was telling me the weather. "Oh, I moved that. Your cousin Derek needed it for his house. The down payment. He's getting married." I felt the world tilt. "You moved it. You moved $150,000 of my money." "I used your PIN. Your mother knew it. It's your birthday. Same as everything else." "That's not the point. That's my money. My marriage money. I'm supposed to buy a house with." "Marriage?" He actually laughed. "Marcus, you work construction. What kind of woman is going to want to marry a guy who spends his days covered in dust? Derek, on the other hand, he's got an MBA. He's got a real career. He's got a fiancée whose family expects a certain standard." "Standard? You're talking to me about standard?" "Listen to me." His voice hardened. "Derek needed help. Your family. Family helps family. You don't get to say no when it's your own cousin. You're the one who's being selfish here." I couldn't speak. I stood there in the middle of the bank lobby, people walking around me, and I couldn't make words come out of my mouth. Finally, I said, "When does he pay me back?" Silence. The kind that tells you everything. "He will. When he can. But Marcus, he's just starting out. He's got the wedding, the house, his career. You can't put a timeline on." "Dad, I need a date. An actual date." His voice got sharp. "Don't you dare come over here and ruin this dinner. Your cousin is celebrating. His engagement party. You're going to walk in and what? Make a scene? In front of everyone?" I hung up. I didn't go to the engagement party. I went in my truck and sat there for an hour, staring at the steering wheel. Did I wanted to scream? Did I wanted to punch something? I wanted to get in my truck and drive to my parents' house, and what? What would I even do? That night, I did go to my parents' house, but not because I wanted to, because I needed to see it. I needed to see if they understood what they'd done. The house was full. My Uncle Ron, my Aunt Patricia, my cousin Derek, the golden boy, the one with the MBA, the one who'd never lifted a tool in his life. Everyone was eating. Everyone was laughing. There was champagne. There was a cake. I stood in the doorway. No one noticed me at first. Then my mother, Diane, looked up. Her face went pale. She started to get up. "Marcus." I didn't look at her. I looked at Derek. He was holding a glass, mid-toast. He froze when he saw me. His eyes darted away, then back. Guilty. He knew, of course he knew. He'd been living in that house for 2 days with money that wasn't his, and he knew exactly whose it was. "Derek," I said. My voice was too calm. "When are you paying me back?" My Uncle Ron slammed his hand on the table. "What the hell is this? You walk in here on your cousin's celebration night and you..." "Marcus." That was my father standing up, outside, now. I didn't move. I stayed focused on Derek. "I'm asking you, when am I getting my money back?" Derek opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Listen, Marcus, I really appreciate this that I do. This means everything to me and Sarah. I promise, as soon as I'm on my feet, I'll start paying you back. And I need time, you understand, right? It's like my dad said, family helps family. Your dad, I repeated. Your dad helped himself to my life savings. Ron was on his feet now. That's enough. You don't talk to me like that. You're a disrespectful little... Disrespectful. I laughed. I actually laughed. 8 years, 0.8 years I worked. Double shifts, summer and winter that I didn't take vacations, that I didn't buy new clothes. I drove a truck with no AC because I was saving for this, for my future, for a house, for a life. I pulled out my phone, opened my bank app, turned the screen around so everyone could see the big, empty balance. That's what you took from me. The room went quiet. My Aunt Patricia suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. My Uncle Ron was turning red. My cousin Derek was staring at his plate. And my father stood up and walked over to me. He grabbed my phone out of my hand and threw it on the floor. "Get out," he said. "Get out of my house." The screen cracked. I looked at it, then at him. "You're really going to do this," I said. "You're really going to choose him over your own son?" "I'm not choosing anyone. I'm asking you to be a man. to put your family first, and you're standing here like a child, crying about money. Money that I earned. Get out, Marcus. I'm not saying it again. I picked up my phone. The glass was splintered, but it still worked. I looked around the room, and my mother was crying, but she wasn't stopping him. My uncle was glaring at me like I was the villain in this story. Derek just sat there, like a coward. I walked out. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just walked to my truck and sat behind the wheel and stared at the broken phone in my hands. Something inside me had snapped. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way I could feel immediately. IT was like a gear in my brain just stopped, and I realized right then that I didn't have a family anymore. I hadn't had one for a long time. I just hadn't noticed because I'd been too busy working. I pulled out of the driveway and drove straight to the Greyhound station. Bought a ticket to Dallas. One way. Standing room only. I had $400 left in my bank account. I had a broken phone. I had a bag of clothes in the back of my truck. And I had a promise to myself. I would never trust them again. Ever. The bus left at midnight. I watched my hometown disappear through the window, and I didn't feel sad. I felt nothing. And that was worse. That was 6 years ago. 2,190 days. I counted every single one. I won't tell you the whole story yet, not everything. But here's what you need to know. I built something in Dallas. Something from nothing. I started by taking any job I could find. Construction, warehouse, landscaping. I worked 18-hour days that I slept in my truck until I could afford a room. Then I got my contractor's license. Then I started hiring other guys. Then I built a reputation. Now I run a renovation company. Not huge, but steady point 20 employees who trust me. Clients who refer me to their friends that I bought a condo. Nothing flashy, but it's mine that I drive a truck. That's paid off. I have savings again. Not 150,000, but enough, more than enough. I haven't spoken to my family in 6 years. Not once. I changed my number. I blocked everyone on social media. I told myself they were dead to me. For the most part, I believed it. Then this morning I got a text. Unknown number. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. Marcus. It's your father. Derek sent you $3,000. I'm texting you the transfer confirmation. You should be grateful. That took sacrifice on his part. Below that, a screenshot. A bank transfer. $3,000. From Derek Harrison. I stared at it for a long time. Then I laughed. I laughed until my eyes watered. 6 years. 6 years of silence. And the first thing they send me is $3,000 and a lecture about gratitude. Gratitude for what? For the privilege of being robbed? I didn't respond. Not immediately. I copied the number into my contacts. Found my father's WhatsApp. His profile picture was him and my mother, smiling, arms around each other. I sent a request. He accepted in seconds. Marcus, you got the money? I typed back. I got it. The money Derek sent. $3,000. You need to call him. He's been under a lot of pressure. His business isn't doing great, but he still found a way to send you something. That means a lot. I didn't answer. I waited. After a minute, he said, I'm glad you reached out. Your mother's been worried about you. Everyone asks about you. You should come home for Christmas. Be with the family. Family, I repeated. You mean the people who took my money and told me to be grateful for it. Silence. Then, you can't keep holding on to the past. We're all trying to move forward. Derek's trying to make things right. You should let him. Let him, I said. That's interesting. Then I asked the question I'd been waiting to ask for 6 years. Is that $3,000 the interest, or is it the principal? No response. I sent another message. Because if that's the principal, we have a problem. If it's interest, we need to talk about the rate. Still nothing. I typed again. Actually, let's do this properly. Tell Derek I'd like to discuss the repayment schedule. All $150,000 with 6 years of interest. AT the commercial lending rate. We'll make it official. Don't make this difficult, he replied. Oh, I'm not making it difficult. I'm making it simple. Give me my money, or I'll take it the legal way. There's no third option. You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that to your own family. I considered that IT was true, that part of me, some deep buried part, still shrank from the idea of actually suing them. But I'd spent 6 years unlearning that instinct, the instinct to protect people who'd never protected me. That's where you're wrong, I typed. I would, and I will. The only question is whether Derek makes it easy, or whether he makes it expensive. I sent him a screenshot of my own, the original transfer point 6 years ago, $150,000, wired from my account to Derek's, with a timestamp. With a memo line, house down payment. He didn't respond. I didn't expect him to. But I knew he was reading my messages. And I knew he was showing them to everyone in that room. That same room where 6 years ago they'd all sat at a table and eaten cake with my money while I stood at the door like a stranger. Now I had their number. And they had my lawyers. I should tell you about the group chat. The family chat. Because that's where it really started. The real fireworks, the explosions, all the things that made the last few months what they were. My father added me to it yesterday. Against my better judgment, I accepted. I wanted to see what they'd say. I wanted to see if they'd show any sign of remorse, any crack in the facade. I wasn't surprised when they didn't. The chat was called The Harrisons. I counted 27 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, second cousins, people I hadn't spoken to in half a decade. People who'd watched me get destroyed and done nothing. My Uncle Ron started it. Marcus, welcome back. We were just talking about you. Aunt Patricia, Our big success story. Making it in Dallas. We're all so proud. Derek, hey, man. Good to have you back in the conversation. Proud. That was rich. They hadn't been proud 6 years ago. They hadn't been proud when I was sleeping in my truck. I didn't respond. I just watched. Then someone, my cousin Emily, who'd always been on the edge of the drama, never quite in it, said, "So Marcus, what's the deal with the money? Are you and Derek going to work that out?" My father jumped in. "We're working on it. Derek already started repaying. Marcus just needs a little patience." I stared at the screen. Started repaying. Like $3,000 against $150,000 was a down payment on an apology. I typed, "Derek, how much of the original amount have you repaid?" He didn't answer, but his mother did. "Marcus, we're not here to air dirty laundry. The point is he made an effort." An effort, I repeated. An effort is what? 5%? 10? Because $3,000 against $150,000 is 2%. That's not effort. That's pocket change. "That's enough," my father said. "This isn't the place for this." "The place for this," I said, "is anywhere we're discussing the money." "Are we discussing the money?" Because I just asked a question and nobody answered it. Silence. 27 people in a group chat and no one said a word. I pressed. "Okay, let me make this simple. Derek, do you consider the $150,000 a loan or a gift?" Derek's reply came after a long pause. "Marcus, you know I always plan to pay you back. It's just been hard. You don't understand what I've been through." "No," I agreed. "I don't, because you never told me. You just cashed my check and went quiet for 6 years." "It's not that simple." "It is that simple. Did I or did I not send you $150,000? And did you or did you not spend it on a house that you now own?" "Yes, but..." "There's no but. There's just the question of repayment. Are we calling it a loan? Because if it's a loan, we need an agreement, interest rate, repayment schedule, timeline. We need all of that documented." "It's not a loan. It's family helping family. That's different." I laughed out loud. "Different. You know what else is different? $150,000 that I don't have. That's different. That's gone." My Uncle Ron jumped in. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. We've had tough times. Everyone's had tough times. You can't just walk back into the family after 6 years and start making demands." "Actually, I'm not demanding anything. I'm asking Derek to honor his obligation. If that's making demands, then yes, I'm making demands. I want my money with interest. And if I don't get it, I'm going to make a claim against his assets. That house he bought, the one he paid for with my funds." "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." I sent a screenshot of the original transfer. The same one. $150,000. Evidence. Documentation. The kind that lawyers love. "Here's my offer," I wrote. "You have 30 days to give me a repayment plan, a real one, or I file a civil suit. And I don't think you want that because when I file, I'm also going to show the court that the transfer was unauthorized, that my father used my PIN without my consent, that I was not consulted, was not informed, and did not agree." "Marcus." My father's voice. "You're threatening your own family." "No. I'm protecting myself from people who think I'm a bank." I dropped my phone on the table. I was shaking, but it wasn't from anger anymore. It was from clarity, something I hadn't felt in 6 years. I knew what I had to do. 3 days later, my lawyer, Philip Chen, he's a bulldog, the kind who doesn't back down, sent out the first notice. A demand letter. Formal. Unambiguous. "Mr. Derek Harrison is hereby notified that he has 30 days from receipt of this letter to arrange full repayment of the principal amount of $150,000, plus 6 years of accrued interest at the commercial lending rate of 6%, totaling $204,000. If full payment is not received within the designated timeline, legal action will proceed without further notice." The letter was delivered in person. My Uncle Ron signed for it. The group chat blew up. "Marcus, what the hell is this? You sent us a letter? Like a business? Your cousin's about to lose his house because of you. Nice. Now everyone knows how you treat family." I ignored it. All of it. I let them scream into the void. My phone started ringing. Unknown numbers. I didn't answer. I blocked each one after it stopped. Then my mother called. I looked at her name on my screen. Diane. My mother. The woman who'd cried 6 years ago but hadn't stopped my father from throwing me out. I answered. "Marcus," she whispered. "Please. Please don't do this." "Don't do what, Mom?" "Don't take the house from Derek. His wife is pregnant. They have no savings. He's about to lose everything. He's about to lose the house he bought with my money. That's not me taking anything from him. That's him paying back what he stole." "Stole? He didn't steal. He borrowed. He always intended to pay you back." "Then why hasn't he paid me back in 6 years?" "He couldn't. He was struggling. You don't understand." I understand plenty. I understand that nobody asked me about this. Nobody told me. Nobody said, "Marcus, we need your help. Can you lend us $150,000? Nobody. They just took it. And now they're shocked that there are consequences. "But he sent you $3,000. That's something." $3,000, I repeated, against $150,000. That's 2%. Do you know what you can buy with 2% of a house? Nothing. It's nothing. My mother was crying now. I could hear it. "Please, Marcus. I'm asking you as your mother." "Mom," I said. I love you, but you let this happen. You knew about it. You could have stopped it. You didn't. And now you want me to just absorb this loss because it's too uncomfortable to hold him accountable. I won't do it. I can't do IT. IT would destroy me. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, your father was only trying to help. Help who? Derek or himself? Because it seems to me the only person he helped was himself. He got to play the generous patriarch and look good in front of his brother. And I got to be the one who paid for it. I'm sorry. It's too late for sorry. I need the money back. And I'm going to get it. She hung up. I didn't chase her. I didn't explain further. I had nothing left to explain. The next day, my lawyer called. Marcus, they're panicking. Good. We got an email from Derek's wife, Sarah. She says she didn't know about the arrangement until the letter arrived. She's asking if there's any way to negotiate a lower settlement. I paused. Sarah didn't know? She claims she had no idea the down payment came from you. I thought about that. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of living in a house bought with someone else's money. 6 years of never once being told the truth. She's lying, I said. Or he's lying. Either way, it doesn't change anything. She also mentioned the pregnancy. She's trying to use it as leverage. They're trying to use everything as leverage. The baby, the house, the family pressure. They're not going to stop. We can push for full repayment plus interest. Or we can settle for slightly less if you want to avoid a trial. I thought about it. No. Full repayment. Let them know we're willing to negotiate on the timeline, payment schedule, installments, but not the amount. Not the interest. And if they refuse, then we file. We show up in court. And we let the judge decide. That was the last conversation I had with my lawyer for a few days. The next step was waiting, letting them squirm, letting them figure out what they were going to do. I didn't expect what happened next. The Thursday after the letter went out, I got a text from my cousin Emily. Marcus, I need to tell you something. I didn't respond. I waited. Your father was never on your side. IT was always Uncle Ron. He put the idea in my dad's head. Dad didn't want to do it. I was there and I heard the conversation. Uncle Ron said, if Marcus doesn't help, your mother will never forgive you. You'll lose the family. You'll lose everything. I stared at the screen. Then I wrote back. Who else knew? Everyone. My dad told everyone. He said you'd volunteered. He said you wanted to help. He told everyone that story for years. It was the only way to make it look okay. And my father just went along with it? He added, if he told the truth, Uncle Ron would have called him a liar, but I know the truth, Marcus, because I was in the room. Your father never wanted to take the money. IT was never his idea. Uncle Ron threatened him, used grandma, made it a test of loyalty. I set the phone down. For the first time in 6 years, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not understanding, but a crack in the narrative I'd built in my head. The story had been that my father was a willing accomplice. A co-conspirator, that he'd chosen Derek over me because he loved him more. But what if that wasn't true? What if he'd just been a coward? I thought about it. The difference was more important than I wanted to admit. Willing participants were villains. Cowards were just weak. And weakness, I'd learned, was something you could exploit. I typed back to Emily. Can you send me anything that proves what you're saying? Any messages? Any recordings? I can send you a recorded conversation I had with Uncle Ron last year. He was drunk. He didn't remember I was there. Send it. Marcus, you can't let him know it was me. I won't. I give you my word. The recording came through that night. 20 minutes of my Uncle Ron, drunk and boastful, describing exactly how he'd manipulated my father. Carl's always been spineless. He doesn't stand up to anyone. IT wasn't hard. I just told him if he didn't sign off on the money, Mom would cut him out of the will. He caved like a house of cards. I listened to it 3 times. Each time, the anger inside me sharpened. Not at my father. At my uncle. I'd been directing my rage at the wrong person for 6 years. The truth had been there all along. I just hadn't wanted to see it. But now I did. And now I knew exactly who to target. The question I asked myself next was, what do I actually want from all of this? Revenge? Justice? Closure? The answer wasn't simple. I wanted to be made whole. I wanted the money back. With interest, I wanted Derek to feel the consequences of what he'd done. And I wanted my father to face the choices he'd made, even if they'd been made under pressure. But I didn't want to destroy them. Not anymore. That had been the old Marcus, the one who'd driven out of town at midnight with $400 and a broken phone. That Marcus wanted blood. This Marcus wanted balance. I called my lawyer. What would happen if we sued my uncle instead of Derek? Philip paused. On what grounds? Fraud. Conspiracy. Unjust enrichment. It was his idea. He orchestrated everything. He threatened my father into compliance. If we can prove that, it changes the case. We could go after Ron's assets instead of Derek's. But it's risky. He can argue that he wasn't a direct recipient of the funds. He was. He lived in that house. He told people it was his son's house, but he always treated it like his own. He threw parties there. He used it as his power base. Philip was quiet. Then, I'll look into it. But you need to understand, once we file against Ron, the family is going to split even further. I don't care. The family already split. They just didn't want me to know it. I was the one left out. The one who paid the bill for the dinner I wasn't invited to. Alright, I'll get you a draft by next week. I hung up. The recording was still on my phone. 20 minutes of evidence. 20 minutes of proof that my father wasn't the villain, just the pawn. And that, in some twisted way, made everything harder. Because it was easier to hate a villain. It was harder to hate someone who'd been scared into hurting you. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my condo, replaying the recording on a loop, watching the minutes tick by on the clock. My uncle's voice, slurred and arrogant, filled the room like poison. Carl's always been spineless. He doesn't stand up to anyone. It wasn't hard. I just told him if he didn't sign off on the money, Mom would cut him out of the will. He caved like a house of cards. I'd heard it 20 times by sunrise. Each time, the shape of the story rearranged itself in my head. The man I'd hated for 6 years wasn't the architect. He was the instrument. The weapon, not the hand that swung it. That didn't make him innocent, but it made him something I hadn't considered before, a victim of the same family machinery that had crushed me. The question was, what did I do with that information? I could keep it to myself, use it as leverage against my uncle in court, spring it on him during depositions, watch his face go white when he realized his drunken confession had been recorded. That was the tactical move, the smart move. But I wasn't just a lawyer looking for the cleanest wind. I was a son who'd been told he was worthless by his father, and I'd believed it for years. Part of me needed to know if my father knew what he'd done, if he'd ever felt guilty, if there was any chance he'd choose differently now. So I called him. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting by the phone. Marcus. Dad. A long silence. Then, your mother told me you spoke. She said you were angry. I was. I still am. But I found out something I think you need to hear. What? Not over the phone. I'm coming to see you. In person. He hesitated. That might not be the best idea. Ron's been staying with us. The whole house is. Perfect. I want him there too. Marcus. Dad, I'm coming tomorrow. Noon. And I'm bringing something you need to see. If you want any chance of fixing this, you'll be there. I hung up before he could argue. The drive back to my hometown took 4 hours. I had made it in 6 years. The roads were the same. The exit signs were the same. The familiar gas stations and diners blurred past like ghosts of a life I'd left behind. I pulled up to my parents' house at exactly noon. The same house I'd been thrown out of. The same front door I'd walked through 100 times as a child. Now it looked smaller, more tired. The paint was peeling on the porch railing. I didn't knock. I walked in. The living room was full. My father sat in his usual chair, smaller than I remembered. My mother was on the couch, hands clasped in her lap, eyes red. My uncle Ron stood by the fireplace, arms crossed, trying to look like he owned the room, and Derek was there too, slouched in a corner chair, avoiding eye contact. So you came, Ron said, the prodigal son, come to make more threats. I didn't answer him. I pulled out my phone, opened a recording, and pressed play. My uncle's voice filled the room, drunk, bragging. Carl's always been spineless. I just told him if he didn't sign off on the money, Mom would cut him out of the will. The room went dead quiet. I watched my uncle's face cycle through recognition, disbelief, and finally, fear. He lunged for my phone. I stepped back. That's taken out of context. It's a recording, Uncle Ron. You were drunk at Emily's wedding. You told the whole story to your sister-in-law. I got a copy. You're a liar. I'm not the one on tape. My father sat frozen. His face had gone gray. He looked at Ron, then at me, then back at Ron. Ron, he said, his voice shaking. Is that true? Carl, don't listen to him. He's trying to turn us against each other. Answer me. Did you threaten me? Did you use Mom's will to force me to take Marcus's money? Ron's mouth opened and closed. For the first time in 6 years, I saw him speechless. It wasn't like that, he finally said. You were already going to do it. I made sure you understood what was at stake. Understood. My father stood up. His fists were clenched. You threatened to cut me out of my own mother's inheritance. You made me choose between my son and my mother. And you told everyone it was my idea. Ron's face went red. Don't you dare blame me. You're the one who signed the transfer. You're the one who used his pin. If you'd had any spine, none of this would have. Enough. My voice cut through the room. I didn't come here to watch you two fight. I came here to settle something. Derek. I turned to my cousin. Did you know what your father did? Derek looked at his hands. I didn't ask how the money came. I just needed it. You knew it was mine. You knew I hadn't agreed. I figured you'd understand. Everyone said you'd be fine. You were single, no kids, working construction. You'd make it back. Make it back. I almost laughed. Do you know how much I had to work to save $150,000? 8 years, double shifts, and vacations. I was 32 years old, and I'd never taken a real holiday. I didn't have a girlfriend because I was too tired to go out, and you took that from me and bought a house. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Then I turned to my father. Dad, you sat in this room 6 years ago and told me I was nothing. You told me Derek was better than me because he had a degree. You threw my phone on the floor and told me to get out. And now I find out it wasn't even your idea. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That's why I came, I said. I came to hear it from you. Did you ever want to do it? Any part of you? I didn't want to lose my mother, he whispered. So you sacrificed me instead. I thought you'd be okay. You were always tough, always independent. Derek needed help. Your grandmother said if I didn't help, she'd never speak to me again. And you chose her, over me. I chose family. The whole family. Not just one person. I nodded slowly. That was what I needed to hear. Not an apology, an admission. That he had made a choice. A conscious one. Maybe under duress, but still a choice. I need to tell you something else, I said. I'm not just asking for the money back anymore, and I'm filing a lawsuit against Ron for fraud and conspiracy. And if necessary, I'll expand it to include anyone who participated in the scheme. My uncle went white. You can't prove anything. That recording is circumstantial. You have no witnesses. I have Emily. She gave me the recording. And I have your own words, Uncle Ron. You told the story to a dozen people. You bragged about it. That's not circumstantial. That's a confession. Derek stood up. You can't do that. My father's got a heart condition. If you drag him into court. He should have thought about that before he decided to steal from his nephew. Marcus, please. My mother started. I held up my hand. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to tell you what I'm doing. The only question is whether you're going to fight me or work with me. If you fight me, I'll take everything, his house, his savings, his retirement. If you work with me, I'll settle for the original amount plus interest. But I'm not leaving without what I'm owed. The room was silent. Then my father spoke. I'll testify. Everyone turned. I'll testify, he repeated. I'll tell the court exactly what Ron said to me. The threats, the pressure, everything. Carl, you're out of your mind, Ron started. No, Ron. I'm finally in my right mind. For 6 years, I let you tell me what to do. I let you make me believe I was doing the right thing. But I wasn't. I was doing your thing. And I'm done. He looked at me. His eyes were wet. I can't give you back the years you lost. But I can give you the truth. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. I should have fought for you. I should have said no. I stood there for a long time. I didn't want to cry. I wouldn't let myself. But something in my chest loosened. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a crack in the wall I'd built around myself. Thank you, I finally said. That means something. Does it mean enough to drop the lawsuit? No, but it means I don't have to destroy you to get what I want. Derek, I looked at my cousin. You're going to have to sell your house debt or find another way to pay me. But I'm not coming after you personally if you cooperate. My fight is with Ron. Derek nodded, pale. I'll think about it. Don't think about it. Do it. You have 60 days. I left after that. I didn't stay for dinner. I didn't hug my mother. I just walked out into the afternoon sun and got in my truck and drove back to Dallas. The drive felt different, lighter. I'd gone in expecting a war and come out with an unexpected ally. My father wasn't the enemy. He was just a man who'd been scared and made terrible choices. I still had a lot to process about that, but at least the story made sense now. I called Philip on the way back. Change of plans. I'm not suing my father. I'm going after my Uncle Ron, and I have a witness who can testify. Philip whistled. That's a game changer. But he's your father. He'll be testifying against his own brother. I know, and I know that means this ends the family, but it already ended. I'm just making it official. What I didn't expect was Ron's countermove. 3 days later, I got a letter from his lawyer. Not a formal response to the lawsuit. That wouldn't come for weeks, but a separate letter, addressed to me personally. Mr. Harrison, our client is aware of your intention to file suit based on alleged threats made during a private conversation. We wish to notify you that if you proceed, we will be filing a counterclaim for defamation based on your distribution of an illegally obtained recording. We will also be notifying the Dallas Bar Association regarding your attorney's conduct in soliciting witness testimony. I read it twice. Illegally obtained? The recording was made by Emily, not me, and she'd gotten it without Ron's knowledge. Did that count as illegal in the state? I wasn't sure. I forwarded it to Philip. His response was immediate. Ignore it. It's a scare tactic. He's trying to make you back down. We're still filing. But it wasn't just me he was threatening. That night, my mother called, crying. Marcus, Ron came to the house. He was screaming. He told your father that if he testifies, he'll make sure the whole family knows what a coward he is. He'll tell everyone that Carl stole from his own son, and now he's trying to blame it all on his brother. Mom, I'm sorry. He's trying to intimidate you. He's already put Dad's name on every family group chat. People are taking sides. Your grandmother, she's on Ron's side. She called your father a liar and said she's changing her will to leave everything to Ron's family. I closed my eyes. This was the part one hadn't accounted for. The collateral damage. My mother, stuck in the middle. My father, finally standing up, but losing everyone else in the process. Do you want me to stop? I asked. If it's too much. No. Her voice steadied. No, Marcus. Your father made his decision. We're both on your side. We just need you to be sure this is what you want. I've never been more sure of anything. Then we'll handle the family. You handle the lawyers. She hung up. I sat in my dark living room for a long time, realizing that I'd just become the center of a civil war. My father's side versus his mother's side. My uncle's threats versus my legal demands. And somewhere in the middle, 6 years of silence about to be broken open. The lawsuit was filed the next week. Here's the part that surprised me. Derek actually cooperated. He called me on a Saturday morning, his voice hollow. I sold the house. Well, I'm selling it. The buyers are doing their inspection next week. I'll have the full amount after closing. How much are you going to clear? After paying off the mortgage? About $200,000. I can give you $180. That's the interest and most of the principal. And your father? Dad's not cooperating. He's still saying it was a gift. He wants to fight. Then he's going to lose, because I have a witness who says otherwise. I know. That's why I'm doing this. I don't want to fight you. I just want this to be over. It was the most honest thing Derek had ever said to me. I almost respected him for it. Send me the paperwork when the sale closes. And Derek, get some help. You're going to need it. He was quiet. I know. The sale closed in 45 days. I got a check for $180,000. I wasn't in the group chat when the news broke, but I heard from Emily that Ron had lost his mind. He'd shown up at my parents' house screaming about betrayal. He called my father a traitor. He'd said the family was dead. And in a way, he was right. The family that had existed for years, the one built on lies and shared greed, was dead. The new family, the one that might rise from the ashes, would be something different, smaller, more honest. But I wasn't part of that rebuilding. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The lawsuit against Ron proceeded without Derek. He couldn't testify against his own father, but he also wasn't helping him. He'd settled his part and walked away. Smart move, actually. It left Ron isolated. Ron's defense was simple. He claimed he'd never threatened anyone. The recording was fake, or at least doctored. And even if it wasn't, he argued that my father had acted of his own free will. Ron had just been giving advice. But Ron made two mistakes. First, he didn't account for Emily. She agreed to testify, under subpoena, that she'd made the recording and that it was unaltered. Her testimony was going to be devastating. Second, he didn't account for my father's testimony. When Ron's lawyer deposed Carl, he told the whole story. The threats about the will, the pressure. The phone calls, the emails, the years of manipulation that my father had kept records. Not because he was planning this, he hadn't been planning anything, but because he'd always had a habit of saving his emails, and in those emails, Ron had been explicit. If you don't help Derek, Mom will never forgive you. You'll lose the inheritance. I'll make sure everyone knows you turned your back on family. It was all there in black and white. Years of manipulation documented. Ron's lawyer saw the evidence and withdrew the defamation counterclaim within hours. The family was in tatters. My grandmother sided with Ron, disowned my father, and stopped speaking to Emily. My mother was caught in the middle, trying to keep the pieces together. But the pieces wouldn't fit anymore. The lawsuit ended in mediation. Ron agreed to pay me $200,000. He had to liquidate his retirement account and sell some property to avoid a trial. I didn't get all of it, but I got most of it, and I got the apology. No, not an apology. A statement, read into the record, where Ron acknowledged that he had exercised undue influence over my father and that the funds had been transferred without my informed consent. It wasn't an admission of fraud. IT was a carefully worded settlement that let him save face. But I knew the truth, and so did everyone else. After the mediation, I sat in Philip's office and stared at the settlement check. $200,000, I said. That's more than I asked for. You got lucky. He didn't want to go to court. I know. I also got lucky with the emails. You got lucky with your father. If he hadn't kept those records, we'd have had a much harder time. I nodded. My father had finally done something right. Not just the testimony, the records. He'd kept them because he'd always known Ron was dangerous. He'd just been too scared to do anything about it. I called him that night. Dad, I got the settlement. Good, good. I'm glad. You saved the emails. A pause. I don't know why I kept them. I guess I always thought one day I might need them. You were right. I'm sorry it took 6 years to prove it. I know. I'm sorry too. We didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said, your mother wants you to come for Thanksgiving. I'll think about it. Marcus. Dad, I'm not ready. I might never be ready, but I'll think about it. He accepted that. I think he understood. The fallout didn't end there. Ron lost his retirement. His wife left him. She couldn't handle the shame. According to Emily, my grandmother changed her will back, but the damage was done. Derek was a shell of himself, working a job he hated, barely talking to anyone. The family was broken, and I was the one who'd broken it. But I didn't feel guilty. I felt something else. Something closer to relief. I had my money back. I had the truth. And I had a relationship with my parents that, while fragile, was at least based on reality. The old family was gone. The new one would have to be built from scratch. And I wasn't sure I was the one to build it. But for the first time in 6 years, I knew what I wanted. I wanted peace. Not the peace of forgetting. I'd never forget, but the peace of acceptance that what happened had happened, that the people involved had made their choices, and that I had made mine. And mine was to move forward, without carrying the weight of their sins. I drove back to Dallas with the windows down. The summer air was heavy and sweet. I felt lighter than I had in years. I didn't go to Thanksgiving that year. I wasn't ready, but I sent my mother flowers, and I called my father on his birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. Marcus. Thank you. How are you doing? Really? I'm doing okay. Better than Ron, anyway. He's not speaking to me. Neither is your grandmother. But your mother and I are fine. We're figuring it out. Good. Figured out. You should come for Christmas. We'll just do something small. You, me, your mom. No drama. I thought about it. Maybe. Maybe as a start. I hung up and looked at the skyline of Dallas in the distance. The city I'd built my life in. The city that had given me a second chance. I didn't know if I'd ever go back to that house. I didn't know if I'd ever sit at that table again. But I knew, for the first time in 6 years, that I had options, that I was free, and that was worth more than the money. But the story wasn't quite over, because a week later, I got a letter from Ron's lawyer, a final offer. My uncle wanted to apologize, in person, to my face. I couldn't believe it. Ron, the man who'd stolen from me and lied for years, wanted to sit down with me and say he was sorry. I showed the letter to Philip. He was skeptical. It could be a trap. He could be trying to get you to say something that undermines the settlement. Or he could actually be sorry. Marcus, this is the man who bragged about manipulating your father. People like that don't change overnight. Maybe not, but I want to hear what he has to say. I want to look him in the eye and see if he means it. Philip sighed. You're too trusting. I'm not trusting. I'm just curious. We set up a meeting. Neutral territory. A conference room at Philip's office. Ron came alone. He looked older, smaller, less imposing than I remembered. He sat across from me and didn't speak for a long moment. Then he said, I'm not going to apologize. Not because I don't owe you one, I do. But because I don't think you'd believe me, and I'm not sure I'd believe myself. Then why are you here? Because I wanted you to see what you did to me. You took everything. My retirement, my marriage, my reputation. I have nothing left, and I wanted you to look at me and see what winning looks like. I stared at him. You think this is about winning? This is exactly what it's about. You wanted revenge. You got it. Now you can live with the consequences. I leaned back. I didn't want revenge. I wanted justice. I wanted what was stolen from me, and I got it. What you're describing, that's not my fault. That's yours. He shook his head. You'll never understand. You don't know what it's like to be the person everyone relies on, to have to make hard choices. You made one hard choice. You destroyed your nephew's future to save your son's. That's not hard. That's selfish. Selfish? I was protecting my family. You were protecting yourself. Your pride. Your image. You couldn't stand the thought of Derek struggling, so you made me struggle instead. He opened his mouth, then closed it. For a moment, I thought I saw something crack in his eyes, but then it was gone. I hope you're happy, he said. I'm not happy. I'm just not unhappy anymore. There's a difference. He stood up to leave. At the door, he paused. Your father told me he was sorry. For everything. He said he wished he'd been stronger. I didn't answer. Maybe if he had been, none of this would have happened. But he wasn't, and neither was I. And then he was gone. I sat in that conference room for a long time, staring at the empty chair where he'd been. His words echoed in my head. Not the deflection, not the blame, the last part. Neither was I. Was that an apology? Not exactly, but it was a crack. The same kind of crack I'd seen in my father. The recognition that he'd failed. I didn't forgive him. I probably never would, but I understood him a little better. And understanding I was learning was a kind of peace. That chapter closed. A new one began. I got a text from my mother the next day. Ron moved away. He's going to live with his sister in Florida. I think he's finally accepting what happened. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. But I did know one thing. I was done with the past, the lawsuit, the settlement, the confrontations. It was all behind me. I had my money. I had the truth. And I had the rest of my life to build something new. I started thinking about the future. Not a house, not a company, a life, a real one. Maybe with someone who saw me for who I was, not for what I could provide. Maybe a family of my own, when I wouldn't mess up the way mine had been messed up. But that was a story for another day. For now, I was just Marcus Harrison, the man who'd lost everything and gotten it back. Not by luck, not by charity, but by standing up for himself. And that was enough.